Like, hold on. Wait a second. Wasn't it? Oh, yeah. Wasn't it Juan Soto who said that pitchers are going to have to fear us and they should be worried? Wasn't it Juan Soto who said that he's not worried about the Dodgers? No, the Dodgers aren't playing particularly well baseball either. But,
Right.
you know, is it Juan Soto who said that this offense is, I'm paraphrasing, but like, bragging about how great this offense is for a guy who has been flat out, I'm just going to say it, a massive, massive disappointment since he's been traded here. Massive disappointment. There's no other way around it. He has had a horrible start to this season. He had a horrible 2 months with the Padres after he got traded. He had a decent postseason. He had some major clutch hits. I've said that before, and I would want him in clutch situations in the postseason. But as a whole, it has been a massive disappointment from Juan Soto for a guy that's coming over here and talked a lot of shit. Like, would you agree? I mean, he said a lot of things about this team that he has not backed up one bit at all.
I want to know the root cause. Okay. We talked to Chelsea Janes today. She wrote an article about Juan Soto's struggles today in the Washington Post. Something is going on. He's utterly lost. I mean, he's completely and utterly lost right now. He's pulling everything. How about this stat? I heard it on Fox on Saturday from Jason Benetti, who had the call. He has not homered on a pitch other than a fastball since July of last year. So the book is completely out on him. Here is the book. He will try to see pitches to death. Okay. The book is he will find his way on. But if you challenge him, especially early in a count, if you challenge him early in a count with a fastball, he's either going to take it or not be prepared to swing at it. And then eventually it's all breaking pitches. And he will get carved up by breaking pitches. And he now has to adapt. And we'd have to go back and look at the film in 2021, but there is no semblance of 2021 Juan Soto in 2023 Juan Soto. And his total accumulation of time in a Padres uniform, if you add up all the numbers, I mean, it's like this is a shell of the player he was in Washington. Now, here's the question. That's a fact. The question is this: why? What happened? What's transpired? Is it mental? Is it mechanical? Is it physical? Is he hurt? Or is it, hey, I turned down the largest contract in the history of baseball, and now can I ever live up to it ever again?
And
It's a big problem.
And I don't want to hear the shit excuse of, well, he prefers to hit third instead of second, or the excuse of, hey, the pitch clock is too fast. I can't even get comfortable at the
He is
plate.
hitting third, by the way.
Like, stop it, okay? Stop that bullshit. It's no. I don't want to hear it. You're too talented, okay? Don't use that excuse. Don't stoop to that level, okay? Don't stoop to the level of using excuses for why you're struggling, why you're not doing well. Like, don't do that. Same thing when I say about Blake Snell. Don't give me that bullshit about the pitch comm. Don't give me that bullshit about the catcher. That's not. It's you.
No, but
buddy.
that's Snell saying that. But I don't actually think Soto's not making excuses for himself, is he? Are you hearing those?
I read that he has said that the pitch clock is an adjustment for him, and he's not used to it, and he can't. What is it? There's no
he's got to get into the box quicker. He's not being able to talk to the catcher and the umpire.
There's no mind games there. It's like just get it and go. And like I forget where I read it, but it's quotes from him. Like, he said these things, and you saw the reports of him preferring to be in the 3-hole. And then the next day he's in the 3-hole, right? Because he wants to see more pitches, and it's the same results. So, like, I don't want to hear these excuses anymore. These
I don't think they're excuses from him, if I'm being honest. I think he's being asked a lot about his struggles, and he's explaining them in the best of his ability. I think if he wasn't asked, he wouldn't bring it up. I think Blake Snell brings it up.
Okay, fair point. But still, when you're asked about these questions, like, don't give me excuses. You would tell me all the time, like, don't give me an excuse. Like, if I ask you a question about something, why are you struggling, right? It's a valid question. Or where do you think your struggles are from? And he brings those things up, then that you're going to excuse route instead of just saying, like, look, I need to be much better than this. This is not who I am. And, things have changed, but look, I just need to be much better, flat out.
Right. Here's the thing. I mean, we can get into it all, but it starts
Soto bomb tomorrow
and ends. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it starts and ends with Juan Soto and Manny Machado. Now, we can continue that conversation when Fernando Tatis Jr. comes back, and maybe Tatis benefits these pieces in a significant way beginning Thursday. I really hope it happens. I really hope Tatis is any semblance of what we saw for El Paso this past weekend. And I hope Tatis has a positive impact on Soto and Machado, and they all rub off on each other. And this is a blip over 162 like you're talking about. But there is no guarantee of that. What is guaranteed is the way they've played over these 18 games has been really poor. And it starts with the offense. It doesn't start with the bullpen. We talked about that earlier. It doesn't start with the rotation. It starts with this offense. I mean, Manny Machado's OPS is way below Juan Soto's. Their combined OPS plus now. I mean, they've played really poorly. And I'm putting it nicely. They've played really poorly to start the year. Gus, thank you. Thank you guys for the supers. If you're here, please subscribe. You're on Padres content. Smash the like button for us. Follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. Thank you for your supers. Like our buddy Gus here, really is a great way to support the work we do day in and day out here on the Wrap-Up Show. We greatly appreciate it. Click the $ below the chat box. Gus says, welcome to the Soto dark side, John. Hashtag about time. And I've been saying this. Gus, I think, said the same thing yesterday. He might have said the same thing today on radio. I mean, I've been saying this, and it's unfortunate because I wasn't worried about Juan Soto, and I don't know if I'm worried, but I'm absolutely concerned because I don't know how he sees his way through this. I really don't. I don't know what it's going to take for him to put consistent. It's one thing to have a glimpse of it. He hit a 450-foot home run the other day in New York, and then he's been 0 for 15 since. So he's going to homer. He's going to have another hit, but can he be consistently the player he was in 2021 here in 2023? I think the jury's out on that.
Look, if you're looking at the bigger picture here, we're 18 games in an 18-game stretch in the regular season of what is he hitting? 162.
Is he hitting?
No, I mean, like in a 162 game season, if you're hitting what was he hitting, like 160?
160, 150, yeah.
An 18 game stretch in a 162 game season, if you play 155 and you're hitting 150, 160, that happens to the best.
It could happen.
It happens. But, for him, the start of this season, and he could absolutely turn it around. I will continue to say, he could still win the MVP and still be a top 5 MVP player and an all-star player, even with a shitty month of April. He can still do that. But the start of his season has been just a massive disappointment. I mean, there's no other way around it. I think he'll eventually be good. There's just too many good things you saw from him in Washington in the postseason, and to think that this guy is just completely pulled a 180 on us, and just now is is like Eric Hosmer 2.0. I just don't believe that.
Neither do I. And there's no comp for a 24-year-old to really have this happen, unless I'm missing something. There's no comp for a player that at 22 was MVP caliber and at 24 is washed. I mean, there's no real comp for that. I mean, the trade could have been impactful. Expectations certainly could be impactful, but it really doesn't make any sense. He's got more protection in this lineup than he certainly had in Washington the last couple of years. Let me get to the super from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you guys for the supers. Just click the $ below the chat box. We will get to your super chat comments here tonight. Andrew says, Tatis will bring the spark the Padres need. I mean, it's possible. It absolutely is possible. And, you'll have a million games after Tatis returns to completely change the course of this season. So there's plenty of time, like you said. There's plenty of time for Soto, Machado, Tatis, whomever. There's plenty of time for everyone. We said, I think, when he got suspended, I mean, it's hard to put all of this on Tatis's shoulders, though.
That's the problem with this is, like, we said it last year, and now we're saying it again. And maybe he does fix everything. Maybe he comes back and lights the world on fire like he did in El Paso. Who knows? But I don't think it's just to just sit here and keep saying while this offense struggles with Manny Machado in it and Xander Bogaerts and Jake Cronenworth and Juan Soto, that, look, they just need Tatis. Like, how many other teams in baseball, if you said they had Bogaerts, Soto, Manny, and Cronenworth in the lineup, that would be
leading baseball in offense.
One of the best offenses in baseball. And instead, it's one of the worst offenses in baseball right now.
Right.
Keyword right now.
Yep.
They have too much talent to be over the course of a season, I feel like one of the lower end offenses in baseball, especially with runners in scoring position. That's the key here. This team like has a like an epidemic for years. I looked back at my Twitter and I typed in Strand Diego, just like, when did I say that first? And it was 2 years ago. Like, this team has been horrific with runners in scoring position for the better part of 2 years now, going on 3. How is that possible with the offensive talent they have and have acquired?
Must be the hitting coach.
No, screw that. Like, you're going on your 3rd straight year. I hope it doesn't, it's 18 games, okay? But you're going on your 3rd straight year where you have a shit team with runners in scoring position. You can't have life depend on it. And you have moments, right? But as a whole, you're just like bottom half of the league. Like, what? How is that possible?
It's hard to figure out. A couple of people saying, in terms of comps for what Soto's going through, Bellinger, Yelich. Here's the difference: both had seismic injuries that at the time he didn't necessarily know what would transpire on the other side. But Yelich and Bellinger have gone through injuries that Juan Soto thankfully has not experienced. You can't tell
He's
me
going
a
through like any
calf and an
injuries.
oblique have
No.
changed Juan Soto for forever. Not to mention he didn't have the calf or the oblique last year. Was it the camel? Did the camel change the course of his career?
The camel changed everything.
On Family Day?
I mean, his time in a Padres uniform, if you have you seen, those things on like Sports Center, like player A and player B, and like you compare them, right? And his time in Washington, he had a 940 plus OPS. And his time in San Diego, he can't even crack an 800 OPS.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're approaching what, 300
Half a season,
330 at bats now. Yeah, half a season with Juan Soto, and the dude is hitting. I mean, he's at like average level at best.
No, he's been below. I mean, the only reason he's been average is because he gets on base, which is has value. I mean, he scored 3 runs on Saturday when they won the game without a hit. He scored 3 runs, so it has value. But no, he's been below average, and you wonder if Peter Seidler would have trepidations about even offering him the type of contract the Nationals offered him 2 years ago. You have to ask yourself that. Would the Padres even put themselves in a position right now with everything that we know and put all those eggs in that basket, or would they wait on it?
I think if you gave every single one of them truth serum, they would say they would prefer Ohtani over Soto at this moment in time.
Well, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't, right? I mean, how could you possibly say anything other than that?
Yeah.
Just based on what these players have accomplished on the field over the last 2 years. I mean, how could you say anything other than that?
Right. No, and look, we've started this whole thing of talking about Juan Soto and Juan Soto. Manny Machado's been worse.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like way worse than Juan Soto this year.
The difference is Machado showed it on field last year in a Padres uniform and Soto didn't. So Machado has cover, in my opinion, to buy him more time than Soto.
No, I agree. And a lot of times people just want to go with, and look, Manny posts every year. All right. With that being said, the here and now, the first 18 games of this season, Manny Machado has been worse than Juan Soto.
He's got a 600 OPS. I mean, that's awful.
Yeah, he's not hitting with
power, not getting on base.
Not getting on base, not coming up clutch. It's the first 18 games of this year have been horrific for Manny. Plain and simple.
I mean, he needs a day off. I'll say it right now. So one of these two guys has to sit. I mean, what are you waiting for? You're going to wait for the 5 off days in 15 days? I mean, or you can watch them go over every day. I mean, I've watched it the last 5 days. They don't hit.
Yeah, and what did we talk about? Or what did Kevin Acee was on, and he was like talking about this stretch at the start of the season, how many games they had in a row, right? 24 of 25, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was gonna be a tough stretch for this team.
It's been tough, all right.
But just looking at this thing in, what's the saying? a vacuum, just looking at the season in a vacuum right now,
Mm-hmm.
you have Manny Machado and Juan Soto, your 2-3 hitters, your best offensive players, and they have been. I mean, you look at the stats here; they've been some of the worst offensive players in baseball. There's those two guys.
I mean, certainly on the team. Somehow Soto
For the
still has an
position
OPS
for the
over
position that they're
700.
in. For the position they're
Yeah,
in.
for what's expected of them, they've been
Yeah.
as disappointing as any two players in baseball. I agree with that.
At this point, yes.
Yeah, Carson, thank you for the super. Thank you guys for the super chats. Click the $ below the chat box. We'll get to all of them tonight. Padres lose at home to Atlanta, kicking off a 3-game series 2-0. They'll play game 2 on Tuesday. They'll travel to Arizona Thursday, where Fernando Tatis Jr. will return and be in the lineup Thursday, according to Kevin Acee. Carson says, what makes some offenses inconsistent? Well, that's a question about the history of the Padres organization. I mean, what is it? I mean, I think they're pressing. Bob Melvin says they're not pressing. They're playing in front of 45,000 people every night. Not tonight, but the first 10 games, they had 8 sellouts. I think they're trying to do a little bit too much, and it's not going well. And here's the other thing. It's not that they're never, they've had men on base. They're not getting a ton of hits, but they've had men on base. They're just not hitting with men in scoring position. Look at yesterday. First and third, nobody out in the first inning. They don't score. Okay, that should never happen for 3, 4, and 5 ever with the Padres. Then runner at third, 1 out in the second inning, don't score. Bases loaded in the ninth inning for Trent Grisham. He takes a called third strike on a 3-2 pitch. I saw some ridiculous tweet that said, like, in the history of baseball, that's rarely ever happened with the bases loaded and the count full. Someone take a 3-2 pitch for a strike. So it's just, I don't know what it is. I mean, it's a cacophony of things. It's a myriad of things. It's a million things. And it's the San Diego Padres right now.
So this is what Manny said after the game. AJ Caswell just tweeted this. He said, quote, "I'd rather this happen now than down the road." And when asked for anyone who would read too much into 18 games, he said, "It's just don't jump on the bandwagon later when we start fucking raking and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing."
Ooh, this sounds like something that Jim would now respond to on Twitter and then be dragged on for the next 5 months. I'd rather this happen now than down the road, like you said. And for anyone who would read too much into 18 games, it's just don't jump on the bandwagon later on when we start effing raking and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. It's a great, that's an amazing Manny Machado quote. And again, I prefer that quote to the, hey, I understand it. And, we're going to figure it out. And yeah, it's okay. I mean, this is real and authentic, and it's who Manny Machado is. It's why he trends every single night on social media. I mean, he's probably right, Jim. He knows more than we do. Struggling for 18 days doesn't mean you're going to struggle for 162. He's got the ultimate faith in himself. And, betting on Manny Machado typically has worked out pretty well. I mean, I wouldn't have said it the same way, but Manny Machado is a unique unicorn in this sport.
And we just said that, like in the course of a 162 game season, 18 game stretch where you're hitting like 160 or whatever the case may be, it happens to the best of them. But it's different when it's the start of your season, when it's the first 18 games, right? When you have come out and you are 8-10 to start the year, that's when it starts looking like this is never going to end. If they came out hot and instead they were, I'm saying, like 12-6, right? And Manny's on fire and Soto's on fire and everything's great. And then they have an 18 game stretch. Well, it's like, well, it's fine. We already saw it. But when you don't see it and you're waiting for it, and you keep waiting for it, it just reminds me of back in the day. Like, all we heard was, hey, the offense is going to get going. The offense is going to going. And it never got going. And I just don't want that to be the case with this team. I don't think it will be. It shouldn't be. I mean, with Tatis is back, there's literally no excuses then.
There can't be any. There shouldn't be excuses now. They were in the NLCS last year without Fernando Tatis Jr. and they didn't have Xander Bogaerts.
I know.
It's like, listen, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with the quote. It's an amazing quote. The thing, when you say something like that, you just have to back it up. And guess what? They got a lot of time to back it up. He doesn't have to hit tomorrow for that to be proven accurate. I mean, he's got so much time. I really believe, and I've been feeling this since the first day of the season, it's almost like, I don't excuse this, but it's almost like they've treated these first 20 games like, we'll get Tatis and Musgrove. It's almost like they don't even count to this team to some extent. They've shown very little to show you that this matters right now. They had the one walk off the back-to-back home runs. That was nice. But there haven't been that many like highlight reel, unbelievable, incredible moments out of these 3 weeks. There just haven't, unless I'm missing something. They had a nice series in Atlanta, when Nelson Cruz had 100 RBIs. They had the Jake Cronenworth game the other day when he had 100 RBIs. I mean, other than that, it's like, I don't know. They haven't shown me a lot. It's almost like they're just waiting like we are. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for Thursday. That's what I'm waiting for. I have no interest in watching this team tomorrow or Wednesday. I just don't, based on the way they're playing. We're going to do it. Hopefully they need to win one of these next 2 games. You don't want to go 8-12 and have lost, 8 of 9 or something overall. Just bad baseball. So go find a way to win one of these games and then see if you can play better baseball with Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah, just this shouldn't be happening with Manny and Soto on your team and Bogarts. I mean, Bogarts has been all bit as advertised. I mean, Bogarts has been your best player by far, by a fucking mile.
No, yeah, it's not even close.
Not even close. And
your second best player is like 100 years old. It's Nelson Cruz.
Right. So you have your 2 guys that, okay, Manny, you want me to go there again? All right. If you want let's go. Be fucking Manny Machado. All right.
Do you see it as this? I mean, Pedro, thanks for hanging out, man. And thanks for the call on the radio today. He says he's dissing the fan base. What's to love in that quote? Do you see it that way? Is he? I think players use certain things as motivation, chip on the shoulder, us against the world, me against them. I could see how you could read it like that. I think he's trying to say, it's funny because it's the same guy that said, hey, you can boo me. That keeps us accountable. I'm paraphrasing. He said that right before the start of the season. And now he's saying, yeah, don't jump on the bandwagon later when we start raking. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's using it as his own motivation. I understand what you're saying. I think he's trying to motivate himself when he says something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Manny says a lot of things, and his play has definitely backed up, everything that he's said over the course of his career. Like, he's on the track to be a Hall of Famer.
Sure.
I mean, when that's the case, you can say a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But you just kind of just waiting for it.